Previously on Shadows Born of Light.
My lord's sincerest apologies, you cannot enter.
What is the meaning of this?
The Xenos blood on your armor is unclean.
The Archbishop has tested me enough. I'm coming to deal with this personally.
My lords, your men have defiled the sanctity of this—
Silence! You preach the Emperor's precepts, but have no spine to carry out his will.
Don't you dare insult me! I orchestrated the War of Pyres. I purged the black market from this station. I am responsible for Sheol's rebirth.
And I have been crusading for over 300 years. My brothers and I have been defending worlds in the Emperor's name before your ancestors even breathed. And throughout these centuries, never before have I seen a priest without the gumption to make sacrifices when it counted.
You are no longer welcome here. Leave my parish. The council will be hearing of this.
Just then, Michal let out a cough. He whispered something to Exantis, too inaudible for anyone else to hear.
What shall we do?
A deathly silence hung over the mining dock, affectionately known as the Rat Yard by the locals. It was not as claustrophobic as compared to the cramped decks of the Hab sectors. A tall metal tunnel gave way to an expansive chasm, carved into the side of a mineral-rich asteroid. It stank of sweat and machine oil, dust caking almost every visible inch of the place. Down the entrance tunnel, a squad of intercessors advanced cautiously, bolters scanning every dark corner for potential threats. Brother Zeta pressed the activation rune on his auspex. It let out a hushed ping as it scanned the area.
Look at this place. A Redemptor dreadnought could fit in here.
He muttered.
Let us hope we don't have to.
Brother Stabian, the squad's leader, said in response.
High concentration of Tyranid spores detected.
Who goes there? Ah, the angels have arrived.
Identify yourself.
Brother Stabian yelled. A small, stocky man stepped forward.
Now, that is no way to exchange pleasantries. The Red Rock Guild is always hospitable. Why is there a need to be rude?
Enough prattling. Where are the Tyranids?
So impatient. Come on in, join us. We have prepared a feast.
Emperor, damn you! Where are they?
Oh, right here. The four-armed Emperor is always ready to embrace his children.
Gene Stealers! Target destroyed. Holy Emperor, what is that foul beast? Watch ourselves!
The squad's vital signs suddenly vanished from the Templars' combat network. Cedric turned to Chaplain Exantis.
Squat Stadion has been lost.
The chaplain sighed, curling his gauntlet into a fist. The ecclesiarchal militia flinched, their fingers on the trigger of their autoguns. Exantis glanced over at Michal, whose limp body struggled to stay in the realm of the living.
Your intuition was correct yet again.
If what he said was true, we will need to marshal the entire fighting company.
I concur. Order Brother Tormund to begin the rites of awakening, and then call back squads Raoul and Arno.
Lord Chaplain!
Greston interrupted over the vox.
Let me take my strike team to rescue Stabian.
Even as he spoke those words, Greston plunged his sword into a Tyranid leaper, stopping only to catch a Hormagaunt by its tail and slamming it into the deck. Around him, the swarm pounced upon his brothers, fighting desperately to hold back the tide.
Negative. We need you to hold the boarding tube.
The swarm has been pushed back. If we move now, we can reach them in time.
I said no. Stabian is already lost. We will recover their gene seed once
You don't know that!
Enough, Greston!
Cedric interrupted.
The Lord Chaplain has given his orders.
I cannot believe you two would abandon our brothers to the Xenos filth while we sit idle.
You've crossed the line.
I will not stand for this. Brother Lothair, get your squad down there. The rest of you follow me.
Brother Lothair chimed in protest.
That is an order. By my rank as sword brethren, I compel you to obey me.
Greston.
Exantis could not retort, as Greston cut off all communication.
Damn it, boy. Lord Chaplain, my sincerest apologies.
Save it, Cedric. Let us fix this together.
Yes, my lord. I propose collapsing the second and third lines to go after Greston.
No, we need the third line. Collapse the second. I need you to hold the boarding tube.
My lord, you're not planning to rescue Greston alone, are you?
No. But I have a plan.
Squad Lothair has found Brother Stabian, but it is too late to save him. Greston curses out loud. He has marshaled his entire strike team down to the dark depths, leaving the boarding tube unguarded. He vows to avenge Squad Stabian. But little does he know he is walking straight into an ambush, as cunning vanguard organisms stalk the shadows, waiting for an opportune time to pounce upon the Templars. This is a Dark Depths mission from the latest Boarding Actions Compendium. There are 4 objective markers on the table, and each player scores 5 victory points for each of the following conditions: Control 1, Control 2, and control more objectives than your opponent. In addition, each side must cut off the head of the opponent, scoring 15 victory points for destroying their opponent's warlord, as well as destroying the enemy's Symbol of Might, which is the unit with the highest points cost in each player's army. The Tyranids seize the initiative and win the roll-off, as the vanguard beasts spring their ambush. Blips crawl across the Auspex screens, detecting 2 lictors skulking in the shadows of the mining dock. It is highly unusual for these beasts to hunt together, unless directed by a sinister presence. The Brood Lord, mastermind of this ambush, bounds forward with lightning speed as its Genestealer kin follows after it, accompanied by a pack of fearsome Von Ryan leapers. They open the hatchway slowly, biding their time. They are patient hunters, knowing the Templars want to seize the objective by the command console. They lurk in the shadows, waiting for their time to strike. The Tyranid warriors act as bait and open the hatchway to expose themselves. The trap is set as the Templars' first turn begins. The walls of the dock are thick, and the Templars can only rely on their Auspex to figure out where the Tyranids are. Frustrated at the Xenos cowardice, Greston orders Squad Lothair forward into the building. He yells for his men to follow him. And with high advance rolls, They make it all the way to the hatchways leading into the interior. Brother Emric, a close friend who leads the Crusader squad, warns him not to be so hasty. Meanwhile, the heavy intercessors breach the guard post. They see the command console. Their eyes soon drift to the silhouette of Tyranid warriors, but do not notice the Von Ryan Leapers hiding nearby. Not wanting to take foolish risks, the sergeant orders his men to fight from the outside, and they poke their bolters through the hatchway, opening fire upon the warriors. The sounds of gunfire signal the battle has been joined. The Templars utter final words of prayer, eager to cross blades with the Tyranids. But the swarm knows this. They have observed the battle at the Illyra market and know that a headlong assault will only end in disaster. So they have adapted. If they cannot win with sheer numbers, then they will win with guile. The Tyranids begin the turn with 15 victory points. They hold 2 objectives and more than the Templars, and have gained a significant lead. The Lictor sees Squad Lothar and excretes a chameleonic camouflage to avoid detection. The Gene Stealers takes its place, locking down access to the central hallway. The Broodlord rolls a high advance and leaps into cover just out of sight. It sends a synaptic link to restrain the Leapers. Their teeth chatter, hungry for the flesh of transhuman foes. They will have to be patient for one more turn. The dock's pneumatic doors slide open and another squad of Gene Stealers shambles forward to join the battle. The warrior fires its venom cannon, but the shot pounds into the hatchway instead. The warriors split fire, its death spitters firing at Squad Lothar, taking a wound off an infiltrator. The Templars are frustrated at the Tyranids' evasiveness. They will need to start securing objectives if they are to win this battle. Squad Lothar has secured the entryway, and so the heavy intercessors advance to the command console. They roll low, but use a command point, and roll even lower. But they need to get as close as possible to the objectives for the next turn, and so commit to their actions. They advance slowly through the hail of death spitter fire, just an arm's length away from the command console. The assault intercessors rush into the room and open the hatch to provide tactical maneuverability in later turns. The Crusader squad breaches the hatchway.
Watch the right flank!
Brother Emric moves to secure the entryway with the secure sight tactical maneuver. Squad Lothar pulls themselves out of the kill zone, too exposed at this point in time. But they are still able to lay ranged fire upon the Tyranid warriors using their marksman bolt carbines. But the claustrophobic bulkheads provide good cover, and they only manage to take off a single wound. Desperate to make time, the heavy intercessors attempt a long charge, but roll just slightly under. The suppressive fire of the infiltrator squad were not enough to draw the warriors' attention away. The Templars have spent the turn setting up breaching positions. The Tyranids currently have a large threat range, and so the Templars must set up their movements carefully or risk being outmaneuvered. It is a dangerous cat and mouse game between transhuman and eldritch abomination, but one that the Templars need to break soon if they are to hold objectives and bring parity to victory points. The Tyranids currently hold a major lead, having secured objectives early in the battle, and they intend to exploit that advantage. The Lictor bounds forward towards Squad Lothar with lightning speed. The moment to strike has come.
Lictor!
The Templars' hesitation will be their doom, and the Broodlord advances to charge the Crusader squad.
Guard against those claws!
With another Lictor following closely behind. The Leapers emerge from the shadows, surprising the assault intercessors, who have no time to react to the sudden threat. The warriors suddenly emerge from cover, surprising the heavy intercessors. The command console had been bait all along. The gene stealers that had just emerged moved to secure the maintenance hatchway and the objective upon it. But surprisingly, the cunning creatures grab a hold of the hatchway and close it shut, making them impossible targets for range attacks. The trap is sprung, and the Tyranid warriors open fire with everything they have against the heavy intercessors. The venom cannon blows off a brother's arm, and death spitters finally find their mark, killing a single marine. All along the line, the Tyranids launch multiple devastating charges on the Templars. The Broodlord roars as it charges, using its agility to fight through the hatchway and making enough space for the Lictor to make a double charge against the Assault Intercessors and the Crusader Squad. The situation looks dire for the Marines. The Broodlord is insanely fast and yanks a Marine through the hatch. Before any of them could parry, its razor-sharp claws has already killed 2 brothers. The Assault Intercessors spend 2 command points on counter-offensive and interrupts the flow of battle, but their strikes are easily parried by the agile Von Ryan Leapers. The Lictor, still within engagement range, targets the remaining 3 Crusaders. It parries the Templars' Power Fist and pierces the brother through the head, and then follows up with strikes to the remaining 2. Greston's face turns to horror at how easily 5 of his brothers have just lost their lives. The other Lictor pounces on Brother Lothair and brings down 2 other infiltrators, leaving only 2 Marines struggling to keep up with its attacks.
Guard against those claws!
Having waited a split second, the Von Ryan Leapers unleash a flurry of attacks on the Assault Intercessors, killing 2 Marines and bringing down 1 to a single wound. The infiltrators desperately fight back, but do nothing to the Lictor. The Tyranids have utterly savaged the Marines in this turn. Tyranid's gambit of frustrating the Templars before engaging them in battle seems to have worked well. Greston's brazen advance into an area he has no intelligence of has now resulted in the death of many brother Marines. The Swarm had learned well watching him fight at the Illyria market, and now their ambush has brought low a significant part of the Templar strike force. It will require a miracle to emerge from this battle alive and claw victory from the jaws of defeat. The Broodlord roars. Something stirs beneath the mining dock as a wave of psychic energy washes over the Templars. Visions of skittering beasts pierce the minds of the Marines, but strong is their will, and they ignore the overwhelming dread, except for the Infiltrator Squad. They push away the mental pain.
Steady, brothers!
Greston orders them to push the attack. The enemy is within an arm's reach, and shall soon meet the ferocity of the Templars' blades.
Brothers, push them back!
Pistol shots fly wide in the confusion of melee, as the Vanguard beasts dodge all the Templars' shots. The heavy intercessors open fire with their bolt rifles, killing 1 warrior and gravely wounding the other. The Crusader Squad roars in fury and charges the Lictor, vowing to defend Brother Lothair. Greston confidently charges both the Lictor and the Broodlord, but this ends in disaster as the Lictor sidesteps his attack and impales him on its 2 talons. In his hubris, he underestimated how fast Lictors can move. But the Crusader Squad fares better. Like a pack of wolves hunting prey, they take turns drawing the creature's attention while the other brothers strike. The combined attacks of the initiates and their neophyte charges overwhelms the beast's senses and brings it down. But the reverse is true on the opposite flank, as the Leapers repeat the same tactic on the Assault Intercessors, and they die protecting each other to the last. The Templars' turn has gone horribly wrong, as Greston lies mortally wounded on the ground. His strike team is now leaderless, with Brother Emmerich of the Crusader Squad as the highest ranking officer. But even if they retreated now, it is uncertain if they will make it out alive at all. The Tyranids' fourth turn begins, and their ambush has proven remarkably successful. Now is the time to decapitate the enemy. The lictor bounds through the hatchway, leaping off of Greston's body and landing behind the Crusader Squad, even as the Broodlord barrels down upon them. Skulking Gene Stealers burst forth at the Broodlord's command, ready to make a charge on the Crusader Squad. The Tyranid warriors roar and rush at the heavy intercessors. Even as the Von Ryan Leapers make their charge, too close to fail, completely surrounding the heavy intercessors and making their escape impossible. All at once, the Broodlord, the Lictor, and the Gene Stealers make their charges into the Crusader Squad, as the Marines fire wildly and in vain.
Hold fast your faith!
The Crusaders fall before they even knew what hit them, unable to keep up with the ferocity of attacks coming at them, as the valiant neophyte makes his last stand before falling to the Broodlord's claws. A heavy intercessor's double hearts are punctured as the deafening scream of their dying brothers pierces their comms. They roar in defiance. The sergeant grabs a warrior and rips its head off, screaming vengeance. The Templar force has been all but routed. Without Greston to lead them, and the Tyranids having taken much of the objectives, this battle concludes as a clear Tyranid victory.
Greston's broken armor screeched, its servo motors slick with his blood. One of his hearts had been punctured. Not even his transhuman resilience could nullify the pain. He groaned in agony, struggling to stand. The lictor turned around, its foot pinning Brother Lothair to the ground. The beast's tentacles hovered over the sergeant's face, its talons poised to deliver a final blow. Greston grunted, mustering whatever strength he had left to raise his pyre pistol. He pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. His pistol let out a whir, before stuttering and letting out a final whine. It would fire no more. The lictor turned, as Greston grabbed the hilt of his sword. It pranced towards him, as if it was savoring his despair. It placed its hoof onto his chest and kicked him back into the floor. The lictor brought its hideous face close towards Greston, forcing the injured Space Marine to stare directly into its eyes. The ground shook even more violently as Greston heard something large approaching. The swarm inclined their heads towards the entrance, but it was too late. Suddenly the termagants exploded into a black mist, flesh burned by hot plasma. Gene Stealers exploded into a pink mist as they were torn apart by devastating cannon fire. Even the lictor was hit, its hide buckling and tearing, shredding huge chunks of flesh from it. The lictor roared, releasing Greston and leaping off into the shadows as a Redemptor dreadnought marched through the massive tunnel. Greston gasped in awe as honored brother Vedrend marched into view, weapons blazing as it heralded his salvation. In the wake of the dreadnought, a squad of Imperial Navy breachers advanced, firing their shotguns as Ripper swarms leapt out of the sewage gratings. Lasgun shots peppered the adjacent hatchways, suppressing the Tyranids skulking in the shadows. A squad of naval armsmen took up breaching positions, tossing frag grenades into the structure, pouring through the breach after it exploded. Screams rang out as beasts pounced upon them. But less fire drowned out the horrors of battle as the armsmen prevailed. Greston could hardly believe his eyes as the familiar clambering of Terminator armor approached him. Exantis marched towards him, brandishing his signature Crozius and hefting his massive storm shield high, deflecting a hail of flesh-borer rounds, his assailants torn into shreds by the dreadnought shortly after.
Greston.
Exantis loomed over him. The glowing red lenses of the chaplain's skull helmet pierced his heart far deeper than any Tyranid.
What have I done?
No excuses. Melancholy won't bring our fallen brothers back.
Greston grit his teeth. Whatever strength he had left suddenly fled his body.
I have brought shame upon our chapter.
Greston bowed his head, presenting his cranium to the chaplain.
My life is yours.
Exantis stared at him for what seemed like an eternity. The chaplain did not move an inch. No strike came to end his life.
You would deprive me of your swordsmanship at such a critical time?
Greston lifted his eyes in confusion. Apothecary Hamlin stooped over him, inserting a tube of yellow foam that gushed out into his wounds, causing him to yelp. Hamlin gently smacks Greston over the head.
But...
Bearing the guilt of your brothers' lives will be penance enough. Let their memory be the scars which guide you.
I cannot live with such shame.
Yes, you can.
I would rather end my own life.
That would do nothing. Listen, we've all made terrible mistakes. You, me, Cedric, Leonis, even the High Marshal.
Exantis offers Greston a hand.
But right now, I need you to turn your shame into strength.
Greston stares at the chaplain's hand. He hesitated, wanting to take hold of it. Yet his body refused to obey him, his soul refusing to be comforted. But finally, he mustered the strength to lay hold of it. Exantis pulled him to his feet, and pain shot through his body as he almost fell to the floor again. Apothecary Hamlin was at his side in a flash, shouldering his brother. Suddenly, Exantis's vox crackled.
Lord Chaplain, the Tyranids are assaulting the boarding tube. They're breaking through.
Damn. Stand fast, Cedric. Third line, collapse. Pull back to the boarding tube.
Let me join you.
Not with those wounds. You will go with Hamlin to the Archbishop's...
I can still fight.
Greston coughed, still clutching the horrific wound on his chest.
You would only be a further burden. I need you in fighting condition for when we properly assault the dock.
Assault the... Does that mean Michal's intelligence was...
Yes. The hive ship has been buried beneath the station this entire time.